Hello. We're off to a great start already. Um, because I hit go live and then I was like, crap, I'm thirsty. So bear with me as I take a sip. Like, it's been a day. Um, and I have a meeting in an hour. So this live is gonna be fun. Um, Part of me earlier today was like, I want to make this live profound, right? Because in the last two lives, I've touched on some heavier topics, right? Like the last one, I didn't dive deep into it really. And I mean, one could argue whether I dove deep in either one anyway, but that's a different story, right? Point being, it was fun, but also some of the clips that I've shared have been very like fuck the system type of thing. And like, well, I'm not going to get into it, right? But part of me this morning when I woke up and I'm like, okay, Emily, you're holding yourself accountable. You said you were going to go live on Wednesday, so you're going live on Wednesday. What are you going to talk about? That's always the freaking question. What am I going to talk about? Who knows? Anyway, um, part of me was like, okay, I could take what I've already started to touch on and like dive a little bit deeper into it, right? And like get into the nitty gritty details. Part of me was like, you could talk about human design and the gene keys more. You could almost teach a bit more about that, bring in the customers, that type of thing, like make it a sales funnel. But part of me is like, I don't feel like doing that. Like, because then I need to think of the pitch and I need to like actually get into the sales mindset and I don't really give a fuck right now. So like, whatever. Um, and also I want to take the pressure off of this, right? Like, I haven't shared on the Revolution yet my charts. I am going to have like an actual post where I might go back and add things as time goes on, but it'll be like the hub for my information. So you'll see my human design chart there. You'll see my gene keys. I'll pull up astrology, astrocartography. Like, it'll be the hub, the vault, it's not the archive. Anyway, I don't need to come up with the name right now. Anyway, I said anyway twice. Oh, the inner critic, the inner child is very critical of me. So thank you, Emily, you little brat. Love you. Anyway, that's appropriate because I am sitting here with my yearbooks. Because if you came here from the first breadcrumb that I posted on either TikTok or Undercover, we're going to go through some of my yearbooks. I need to start going through them in a bit more detail anyway, because they're helping me rewrite some of my old stories, right? Like the stories that I've told myself about friends and classmates and just relationships in general and like how people view me and all that jazz, right? Um it's fascinating because as I'm doing this, right? Like I use the gene keys. The gene keys in the Venus sequence, which there's like three primary sequences, a little bit of a teacher moment, right? There's three primary sequences, and then there's also the star pearl, which is just kind of like an added on layer to the pearl sequence. Pearl sequence is very much about prosperity, abundance, and service. The Venus sequence is going to be love and relationships. You can kind of figure that out because it's the Venus sequence, right? So think about Venus placements, um, just all that, right? And then there's also the activation sequence, which uses the same placements as your incarnation cross, if you're familiar with that. If not, don't worry about it, right? This is just like human design gene keys jargon. But in the Venus sequence specifically, hi, this is Estrella. You can kind of see her face there. I'm not going to adjust the camera because the stand that I have for this is honestly a piece of shit. Like, I bought it years ago and then I never used it. It's just been sitting in the closet and it's gotten a bit not good. But it does the job, right? Like, it is what it is. Anyway, point. The Venus sequence. The spheres, some of them, sphere of SQ, spiritual quotient, sphere of EQ, your emotional quotient, and then the sphere of IQ, intelligence, they're developed within specific stages of like child development and psychological development. Like, it's fascinating. As a psych major, like, fascinating. I'm just, I'm gonna have so much to say about this topic, but that's getting into like other things. But anyway, point being, it's really interesting right now for me to go back and recall just things that I went through in childhood, right? And then look at it through the lens of human design as a projector and as a self-projected projector too. That's fascinating. There's a couple things that I already know I'm going to talk about today, and then we're just going to kind of go where I feel called. And I'm going to talk about whatever the heck I end up talking about. But anyway, like, looking at all of this, all of my memories from the lens of, okay, I am a self-projected projector, a 4/6 profile. If I had known that when I was a kid, and if my parents, like, love my parents, no shade to them, but if my parents and if my teachers and my coaches knew that I was a projector alone, but also a self-projected projector, like, things would have been so much different. So much different. Um, but not only that, right? Like, add on the gene keys. Your sphere of SQ, your spiritual quotient, is developed between the ages of 0 and 7. It's also affiliated with the first trimester in utero. Um, the sphere of EQ, so emotional, right? Emotional intelligence, is developed between the ages of 7 and 15, also affiliated with the second trimester in utero. The sphere of IQ is developed between the ages of 15 and 21, third trimester in utero. Like, I look at that from my perspective, right? Just looking back on my life, knowing the shadow, the gift, and the city of each of my spheres, and like what center it's in, whether that center is defined or undefined, like whether I have the corresponding partner to a channel there. Like, when I add all of this in, it makes me look back on my experiences in an entirely different way. Fascinating. Like, fascinating. um, but then I'm like, okay, what if we used this in society? Like, part of me is like, I could become a teacher. I could do X, Y, and Z. I can be the one to bring this into all of these industries. I cannot do that. I'm a projector, right? I am not going to change the system from inside of the box. Inside of what kind of box, Emily? One made of glass? You know, just as a little marketing thing there. Disregard if you don't care. Um, if you're just here for the show, right? But anyway, like, you guys, this is game changing, okay? I am not the expert in all of this. Like, I'm fascinated, but you're gonna see people who, like, I'm gonna refer you to people, just, I'm not even gonna get into that. That's not what I'm here for right now, but just like, stay tuned, okay? Trust me, like, stay tuned. Anyway, okay, let's go through some yearbooks. What time is it? Make sure. Okay, I've got Oh, that's cute. Just something. Let's go through some yearbook stuff. I also have report cards. So it's like, was I actually a good girl? Okay. On top, and I've read through some of these. My mom sent them to me. God, it was sometime in 2025. I went back to Minnesota in January 2025. I had a photo shoot, the photo shoot, the boudoir photo shoot, right? Probably the shoot that got me fired, but I'm not sure for sure because the only reason that they gave me as to why I was being fired was because they no longer thought that we were aligned. So, anyway, I digress. So I looked through these when she sent them to me. She's been, going through and getting rid of things. So she's sent me a few mementos. And I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm sure I will at some point. Like, they'll show up in articles that I'm writing. I'll talk about them more, like, as I discover things. But okay, so so I went to Glacier Hills Elementary School in Eagan, Minnesota. That was my first public school system school. So that was kindergarten through fourth grade because going in the summer between fourth and fifth grade is when we moved down to Mankato. If you watched one of the other lives, I think, so it was last week, January 7th, 2026, for anyone watching this like way out in the future, right? I talked a bit about moving to Mankato, Minnesota, the schools I was at there. It was Roosevelt for fifth grade, Garfield for sixth. Garfield was like literally a one grade only school. Dakota Meadows Middle School for seventh and eighth, and then Mankato West High School for ninth through 12th. I was gonna say something just there, but it kind of flew away. Doesn't matter. But I didn't talk about elementary school. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, remember. So, in that last live, right, I mentioned that when I went back to Minnesota last January 2025, I drove down to Mankato. I ended up driving by Roosevelt, which was right down. I was able to walk there from our house. I walked by the Catholic church that we went to, that I refused to be confirmed at. That was a whole thing in my family. We won't get into that today. Although maybe we will because there's an entry in a yearbook I'll find it. It's funny. So I walked there and I passed it every day in fifth grade. So I drove by Roosevelt. Part of me's like, hi, Teddy. Not necessarily the same Teddy from the other live, but you never know, right? Like, ooh, we're not going down that road. So I drove by that elementary school. I drove by Garfield, and then I was able to walk in and walk through Dakota Meadows Middle School and Mankato West High School when I was back in Minnesota last year because so that was January. It must have been, was it Martin Luther King? Which is also interesting because as a side note, it might show how like disassociated I was back then. I was unaware of the fact that Martin Luther King made a speech on the steps of my high school. So that's interesting. Okay, January. Which app is this? This is not the app that I want. I have too many calendars. Like, I need to streamline things. I'm working on it. I'm switching systems. It's getting better. Okay, so no, Martin Luther King Day was the week prior. And I was in Mankato on the 27th, so I don't know why they didn't have school. I think the teachers were there. It was a prep day, which also, side note, was hilarious. because when I was walking through Dakota Meadows Middle School, okay, and some of you, like, if you're watching this and you went to school with me, like, you're gonna know. Um, there was at least one teacher there working. I saw him, he saw me. Obviously, like, I didn't say hi. I'm sure he would not recognize me. Um, but like he was a teacher when we were there, and he's still there. And there's a part of me that's just like, oh boy, like some people just really don't leave their hometown. No judgment, no judgment. I am just somebody that believes that in order for you to evolve, grow, expand, like you need to get out of your bubble. So 1010 would recommend that. But anyway, back to these, right? This live, very chaotic, I'm sure. Chaos, by the way, is the shadow of Gene Key 3. Um, the I always flip the orders, so my apologies. The gift is innovation and the city is innocence. Let me double check that just for clarity's sake. I honestly should know it because Gene Key 3.3 specifically, is my EQ. So I am made for chaos. Like I can move through those shadows very easily. Come out on the other side. Okay, Gene Keys. Chaos is the shadow, innovation is the gift, and innocence is the city. Perfect. So I was right. Good job, Emily. Anyway, okay. So that was that. Yeah, Martin Luther King gave a speech on Mankato West steps, apparently, and I did not know that. So, like I said, very disassociated. Like, I wasn't, I was in my bubble, right? I was just trying to survive. But then when I was in Eagan, I was staying with my parents because they recently moved back to Minnesota. They were down in Fort Myers for a while. But anyway, I digress. My mom and I drove by my elementary school, Glacier Hills Elementary School, which we won't get into. um, but it's funny because a lot of times my maternal grandparents would bring up the story of when I think it was in fourth grade. Um, there was like show and tell or something that like that, and I brought my cat because I got a cat over the summer and I wanted one for forever, and I brought her in for show and tell, and I don't know if she did escape her crate or like my arms, um, but it was traumatic. The setup of that school was really weird. Like everything was in a circle. I mean, part of me is like, Emily, maybe it wasn't weird. Like maybe it's like kind of very matriarchal in a way. But all the classrooms were open, so it's like you could hear everything. I don't know if they've changed that since then because I didn't go inside. Would love to though. So like, I don't know. Maybe consider this a pitch to Glacier Hills Elementary School, right? Like, I'm writing a book. Bring me back. Let me walk through the halls and like rehash or rewrite my own stories, like rewalk, I'll make the pitch prettier later, whatever, right? Okay, point being, my report cards. This one's interesting. So this is from Mrs. McCauley. She was my third grade teacher, which is interesting because let's see, this yearbook is 95 to 96, so this is 97, meaning that's not the right one. Mrs. Seebeck. This should be it. Also, I don't know if a cat ripped that or something else. That's grade 2. I'm going backwards. McCauley. Yep. There we go. So Mrs. McCauley, she taught my dad. Yeah. So she taught my father when he was in school. And then she taught my brother, she taught my sister, and she taught me. And I don't know if I have anything to say on that right now. Part of me is like, I don't want to like show the other kids just because like obviously consent, right? So I'm like, maybe I'll just do this later. Maybe that's probably the better thing. But ooh, I just showed pictures. I'm sorry. That's me in 4th grade. Um, with my bucky teeth and my chunky 90s headband. Cute. Anyway, so she taught my dad, both of my siblings, and me. And I have a lot of wounding around being taught by teachers who have taught my siblings. I'm the youngest of 3. Um, my brother is 5 years older than me, and my sister is 4 years older. So I've mentioned it before, the years we were born, right? 85, 86, 90. Technically, it's like 3.5 years or like 4.5, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's details, right? Point being, my siblings are very smart. Like, and they were perfect. They could do no wrong, and I was the black sheep, right? That is the story that I have always told myself. Um and they were a straight A student, so I had to be a straight A student, right? My brother is a manifesting generator and my sister is a generator. My dad is a generator and my mom is a manifesting generator. So I was a projector growing up in a household of nothing but sacral beings. That was fun. Especially because my design, you'll see whether like maybe not immediately, but there's sometime in the future, right? There will be a post, like I said, with my chart. You can go and see it, and you'll be able to see my root center is undefined. So it's open, but there are 6 channels that connect to the root center. So there's 3 on each side. There's 3 that point to the spleen, there's 3 that point to the sacral, and then there's 3 that point to the solar in the root. I think I said that, but like just in case, right? I don't have any of those channels defined. If I did, my root center would be activated. It would be defined. So while I don't have any of the channels, I have a gate on every channel. So it's very easy for me to be activated in the root center and to like, even though I'm not designed to be under pressure all the time, like I'm very often under pressure. It's taken a lot for me to realize, thank you, human design, like this has honestly helped me so much in that way. When I feel pressure to do something, especially within a specific time frame, I can now step back and be like, there's no pressure. That's not my pressure. So, anyway, there's only pressure if I consent to it. Consent, by the way, if you don't know what that means, I suggest you look it up. Anyway, this progress report from a teacher who taught not only my siblings, but also my father. Emily is off to a great start for her 3rd grade year. I am so enjoying having another case this year. Emily is a very special young lady with lots of personality. I am looking forward to meeting with you at the conference time to discuss her progress, blah, blah, blah. So, great, right? Emily is a wonderful young lady. This is like the next progress report. She loves to socialize, and I want her to really get this in control. There are appropriate times to be social, and there are certain times to learn. Let's see. I feel Emily has done extremely well in academic areas. The one area I still want to see more growth is the area of writing. And then it would also benefit Emily if she could practice her multiplication facts. But I wasn't a fan of math. Like, that was my brother's thing. Like, no. And also, it's interesting because part of me is like, she wanted to see more growth in writing. And part of me wonders, like, was I intentionally not doing that because my sister already claimed that? Like, again, I mentioned last week when talking about music, like, if my siblings were good at something, I felt like I couldn't try in that because, like, how could I compete with them? Right? I wasn't on their level. And I literally wasn't. Like, developmentally, I was not on their level. Like, rarely ever. There were a few times, sure, but like barely. So lots of wounding around that, lots of stories that I'm rewriting for myself, right? Um, let's see, just continuing on to the next progress. She feels that I have worked hard on my socializing this quarter. Um, let's see. I like this line. So I'm like reading now to myself. The one area that I wanted to see growth in was writing. I must say, I think Emily is on her way to becoming a real author. Well, that's cute. Funny because I'm like, I mean, my sister is a published author. 1010 would recommend her books, Sawbill and We Are Animals. I'm sure I've posted links elsewhere. I will put one into the notes of this live. Because let's be honest, I'm gonna put the replay. This is just fun. Like, get to know me behind the scenes. And also, I can come back to this, right? And be like, okay, let's dive more into this, like, this thing, Emily, where you growing up were such an academic overachiever, perfectionist, good girl, right? And how difficult, hi, sweetheart, was that with like your siblings also kind of being that? Like, obviously, my brother wasn't a good girl. Like, but if, you know what? He's not. But if he were trans and such, I would shift that and be like, my sister was also a good girl, right? Like, it's not that difficult to make adjustments, people. I'm just saying, we're not getting political with it right now, although also everything is political. So, like, come on. Anyway, point. That's going to be fascinating to dive into. And now that I'm kind of on this train of thought, right? I got to check the time just to make sure because I've got to be at this meeting. Okay, so Mrs. Macaulay taught my dad and both of my siblings. Another big one. I have a clip that I'm probably going to share to the revolution. It's been sitting in the archives for a while. I've just like have been hesitating to share it. One, because not hesitating with this, but like I like writing the transcript out with my videos that are short enough for it. Like the lives, I might do that eventually, but also the lives are long. Um, and because like when I rewrite the transcript, like I'm taking into account like the cadence of my speech, right? And really playing with the grammar and like pronounce not the pronounce the you know what it is, the P word with like semicolons and commas, proclamation points. Like I am not an English major, so I will defer you to my sister for that, if anything. Um, the cases, right? We're all over the place. um, let's see. Where was I going with that? Got sidetracked. I mean, I'm gonna come back to this teacher thing. I don't remember. Anyway, okay. Oh yeah, the video. See, it comes back eventually. So I have to write, well, I don't have to. I enjoy writing the transcripts and like playing with like, okay, let me study myself, right? Let me study my body language, the tone of my voice. Let me write to that. Like I am my own muse. It's fascinating. Um, like as a self-projected projector with my north nodes and in 13 and 41. What? Tie that into Spain, right? The like extensions that I come off of or come out with from this live is going to be interesting, I feel like. Anyway, some of you are going to be like, she says she's a crazy childless cat lady. Like, she sure fucking is. But it's fine. Anyway, um, so that video, guys, we got Third Eye and Estrella here. Stare down. Who's gonna, who's gonna win? Estrella. Yep. Anyway, so I have a video. I think I recorded it like it was sometime last year. I want to say it was summer, where I talk about AP Gov and Mr. Urban. So those of you who went to Mankato West High School are gonna know immediately, right? Like Mr. Urban. Um, also taught my siblings, and Mr. Urban had a wall. Like, I mean, they all had walls, right? Like you're in essentially a prison, so there's walls everywhere. But on the walls of his classroom, there was the wall with a list of every single year that he was a teacher, a list of students who got a 5 on the AP Gov exam, which is like the 5 is the top score, right? Guess who spent the entire year of AP Gov staring at her siblings' names on the wall? Perfect 5s, both of them. And then Mr. Urban coming up to me on a semi-regular basis like, are you going to be the third case on the wall? Like, are you going to make it up there? And Mr. Urban had this thing where, like, if he was disappointed, like, he would shake his head, he would look down his nose, and he had these little spectacles. Um, and it was just like, I can see it clear as day in my mind, right? Guess who didn't get a 5 on the AP Gov exam? This case. Yep. So that was fun. There's a part of me, right, that's like, Emily, did you self-sabotage? Like, if I had really wanted to, I'm sure I could have studied harder and I could have, like, done X, Y, or Z to make sure that I got, like, on the wall. But if I slacked a little bit, right? I don't know, less pressure, like, an excuse to not pursue that. Like, who knows? But, like, I don't know. It's interesting. Let's see. AP Gov was the main one in high school. Um, Luckily it was only high school because since we moved to Mankato in 2000, my were both of them moving it? Yep. So both of them were in high school at that point. So I had a reprieve for 4 years, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, where the teachers did not compare me to my siblings. Although my brother's baseball coaches were teachers at Dakota Meadows Middle School, so they did have me in their classes there, and that kind of felt weird. Um, but it was like they didn't at least teach, right? So it wasn't like, but also my brother was a freaking genius, so like, love you, Jeff, but come on. Oh, anyway, um, let's see. AP Stats. The teacher for that also taught my brother. And then AP, was I in AP English or AP Lit? I think so. Yes, I was. Miss Lion. Ooh. Yeah, she taught my sister. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to come back to this. So, Miss Lion taught my sister in AP Lit, and my sister is a generator, right? The thing that lights her up is writing. She's a published author, like I said. Like she's an artist, she's an author, like she's just check her out, right? But I'm like, she was a generator. And she was active in after school programs. So she was active in like the book club, I think. She did art stuff. Like she had the energy to do that. And I was just talking to somebody earlier today about how like as a projector with generator and manifesting generator family members, like it felt like there was a lot of pressure on me to be more involved in extracurricular activities. And I tried to be, but I was so exhausted. I couldn't do it. So it's like, would I have loved to have been involved in like art or writing clubs or so many of the other clubs? Yes. I wanted to be. I just did not have the energy to do so. I was at capacity. And it's like part of me is like if there had been less pressure to follow the fucking rules, to follow the system saying that you have to graduate by this time with these requirements, right? Like, I wonder what would have happened if I had just been allowed the space to explore and dive into the things that fascinate me. Like, don't get me started on the way that the education system needs to change. Like, and I know a lot of my ideas are going to be radical as fuck, but like, it's not working, guys. We know that, right? Maybe you should let me play, right? I said, I have Gene Key 3. The world is in chaos. The education system is in chaos. Let me come in. Let me like come in with my innocence because I don't work in that system, right? Let me innovate it. Let me fuck shit up, but in a good way, right? It's like an art class. We're going to take paint and just throw it at a canvas and see what happens. Like let me play. Oh, okay. Inner child little mini tantrum over, right? Anyway, part of me's like, okay, I'm gonna get back on track, right? Was there anything else that I needed to say with that? I don't think so. Back to report cards, right? So that was Mrs. McCauley. I'm looking at these from that. Oh yeah. The socializing, wanting to get that in control. Okay, I understand, right? There's a time and the place. But there's also like okay, this one. This is Mrs. McFarlane in 1995 to 1996. So this would have been kindergarten. Um, this was when I was born with blonde hair, and then it turned brown, I think when I was like 4. I want to look more into like that, and because I know it happened to my brother. Um, two of my nieces, well, one of my nieces and then my nephew were born blonde and they're still blonde. So I'm just like, there's part of me that's like, what's the reasoning for this? But that's a different time, right? Um, but under language arts, listening and speaking. At times Emily gets distracted talking to her many friends. And part of me, right, is I look at that and I'm like, that to me, I read it as a healthy 4-6 self-projected projector. I'm building my four network, right? My community. And I'm speaking in spaces where the teacher may not have invited me to speak, but my friends did. So let me speak, right? But no, I got shut down. And it's fascinating for me to look back on these report cards because it's like, I know who I was and kind of how I learned to move through. What are you doing? There's a cat climbing the window. Girl, what are you doing? She's like, you're not paying attention to me, Mom. What are you doing? God. Anyway, um, so yeah, I'm just like, I can see the ways where this feedback dimmed my light. It took away my voice and I let it happen. Like, I could blame the system, absolutely, right? Like, the system is fucked up. We know that. Like, and if you don't know that, like, where are you living? Under a rock? Like, who are you, Patrick fucking Star? Again, different story. Also, if you have an issue with my swearing, why are you watching me? Rated E for Emily should be like the disclaimer, okay? I'm like a pirate. I have a sailor's mouth sometimes. If I'm speaking directly to children, obviously this is not going to happen because I'm going to be very intentional. I'm going to be a bit more planned, right? But don't act like you're so pure. Anyway, I'm like, what would have happened, right? If I had been supported in the system as a self-projected projector, if I had been encouraged to build my network, to speak my truth, to recognize when I was being invited versus when I wasn't, right? I'm willing to bet I would have become a very different person. I wouldn't have necessarily struggled as much as I have to get back into alignment, right? Food for thought. Anyway, let's see. Anything else I want to say with this? Okay. When was this? First thing, Emily is a little shy. But once she steps out, she has a good time playing with others. She expresses herself very well. This would have been, it doesn't say when. Oh, look at this note. Physical. She is normal except more advanced with her writing skills. Good girl. Right? Aw, that makes me happy. Let's see. Emily is certain of her likes and dislikes. You can bet your fucking ass I am. She has a few favorite friends, but prefers to be sought out rather than initiate contact. She also enjoys solitude. Like, that's me. To me, understanding my design, I'm like, I knew who I was as a child. Like, I knew. Other people questioned me, right? They tried to make me fit into their box. But I know how to break through because it's a glass box. Oh gosh. Okay. I think we're going to move on. Why do I have my brother's report card? Oh, he didn't get all perfect scores though. To be fair to my brother, right? Like, he his grades did slip. I remember in high school he got in trouble for that. Um but also, like, his high school grade slipped because he was also taking college courses. And like, if you are so far out of the league of something or somebody else, like, why are you putting any effort into, like, I understand it. Um, but anyway, okay, so let me see what time. Okay, I've been talking a bit. That happens. Which I honestly think is so funny. Um, because I have the gift of gab, right? I've always heard that be directed to me in a very negative way. So when people tell me that I have the gift of gab now, like I had a mentor of sorts say one time in a public setting that I had the gift of gab, and I took it personally. Like I didn't react, but like I noted that, and it did shift kind of the way that I engaged with that person. Not like publicly or anything, but like I started I started observing our interactions a bit more closely, um, to try to discern whether or not it was meant as a slight or not. Because from my experience, it's always been a slight, right? And this honestly brings me back to reminding myself, right? Like, I need to release the story sometimes. Like, I get just like everybody, right? Like, people will say something and it will trigger you because of something that someone said to you when you were a kid. And if you're not aware of that, like you're going to take things personally. You might react. Reaction is the shadow of my core wound. Also, core wound becomes your vocation. It's, if you're looking at it from a Gene Keys perspective, right? The Pearl sequence would be right up here. It's like a little triangle. The Venus sequence kind of creates, it looks kind of like a lightning bolt of sorts, like straight on. I would imagine if you're looking down or up at it, it would kind of form a spiral. Like I like to look at it as more of a 3D thing, but again, that's a different thing. I'm not on here right now just to teach. But the core wound sits like, if this is the star or the pearl, which also becomes the star pearl, it just adds the inverted triangle like over each other. Anyway, the core wound would be right here. If you were looking at it straight on, it would be on this side, right? I'm looking at it like as if it were right here. So the core wound connects the pearl sequence to the Venus sequence. So when you transmute, when you alchemize your wounding from relationships, the gift from that becomes your vocation and what you can bring out into the world. Also, side note, there's a cat playing with a toy, so background noise, right? Just for fair warning. Okay, we're moving into middle school. Sorry, I opened up to the page where people, they give you their autographs, right? And they write me little notes. What is happening down here? Oh my god, that's gonna drive me crazy. You're like pushing it around places. Oh jeez. Sorry if you see my ass, but also like you guys have already seen it, so I don't think that really matters. There we go. Okay. Whew. And we're back. And we're back. Whew. Okay. Although, did I lose my phone? My other one? I'm gonna need that. Okay, we still got time. Um, Middle school. So I opened up to one of these. One, I'm gonna absolutely need to flip through some of them and just read these autographs because some of them are like really sweet. I like move the toy, and of course she's like, oh, it's in better reach now. Girl. Anyway, um, I don't know. That's just this. It's interesting, right? As someone who, generally speaking, doesn't really have the best memories of high school and middle school, like, it's interesting. For example, I'm not showing this cover, but on my Garfield yearbook, girl, I'm gonna move this because you are going to drive me crazy. It's one of those the like spiral toys with the balls in them, so they can like bat it, right? Don't do it, Zeba. Oh my god, chaos at the sanctuary. I know, you're like, you put something under the blanket, Mom. It's like day in the life of a crazy childless cat lady with two bitches. But anyway, so my Garfield yearbook cover, cute concept, right? So they have the front and the back of it, black and white, which is kind of cute, right? If you make the connections, um, with everybody's picture on it. And I would assume it's everybody on there. Part of me is like, that can't be everybody. But also, Garfield was just sixth grade. Like, it was only sixth graders. Ooh, that was 9/11 time frame. That's interesting. But the reason why I'm not going to show you is it looks a little bit like a burn book, honestly. I have drawn faces on people who bullied me. I drew squares around people who were nice to me. I scribbled out entire boxes of people who I'm like, I have no idea who's under there. Like, there is one where it's not only like colored out with permanent black marker, but it's like I took a ballpoint pen and like hashed at whoever's face was under there. So I'm like, who were you? Like, and then like, and it's interesting, right? Because I'm at a stage in my life where I'm like, I look at these children who bullied me. I haven't seen any of these people since 2008 when we graduated. Like, I saw some of them in the summers when I came back from college, but I moved out of Minnesota in 2012. And there's a couple of people where it's like, we're Facebook friends or like we've reached out and said happy birthday type of thing. And I met with the one friend last January when I went back up there. But other than that, it's like they're not in my life. I'm not in theirs. Like, I don't know who they are now. And it's fascinating because I'm like, they bullied me, yes. But part of me is like, I wonder what they were going through at home and their life, right? Like, you never know. So there's the part of me that's very compassionate and empathetic, right? But also I'm very aware of the fact that, like, I mean, sometimes you're a bully in school and you become a fucking ICE agent, right? So you were a piece of shit then and you're still a piece of shit now. Not much has changed. That's just me making assumptions, right? I don't know these people. But that would be interesting. But also, it's just, again, it's like yearbooks are interesting. They make you think about things. See, I know I need to wrap this up because I need to get. I'm just sitting in on a meeting, so it's not like I have to do a whole lot. Um. Oh, I got somebody's number. I'm pretty sure I never called. Part of me is like, well, one, assuming they were giving me their number for friends, but also, just as a side note, I'm oblivious. Like, I've gotten a lot better, but when I was in Nashville, 2 years ago, December, that would have been December 2023, me and my friend went out, and I'll dive into like me being oblivious when people are like interested in me in more detail at another time when I have more time. But we were out somewhere. I don't know where we actually were. Like, I was just following her lead. And we were in a bar, and it's Nashville, right? So there was a live band playing music. And we were kind of standing to the side on a wall on the stairs so like people could go up and pass us. But we were right there. And after we left, she turned to me and she made a comment. She's like, "You're really oblivious, aren't you?" I'm like, "What?" Yes, I am. Um, Growing up, I was certain that nobody liked me, right? Nobody ever asked me out. Um, like there were no signs. Part of me wonders, like, Emily, were you just oblivious or did people really not like you? Right? Like, I don't know. We'll never know. But also, that's a side note. Dating with human design, that's an interesting concept, which I'm sure I will dive further into. But even disregarding gender norms, right? We're not going to get into that right now. I don't have time. There are more than two genders, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. But disregarding that, right? Speaking as a projector whose strategy is to wait for the invitation, right? Think back to my report card that says that Emily prefers to wait for people to come to her rather than to initiate. I am not meant to initiate. One could argue that with my sphere of radiance in the gene keys, my unconscious sun placement from human design being 51.6, the gift of which is initiation. Like, there's a part of me that is able to and meant to initiate. I have learned the ways in which to do that. But, like, speaking from a strictly strategic perspective, as a projector, you need to invite me. So, if you, viewer, are interested in dating somebody and you happen to know their human design, that's going to give you a really good idea of how you can court them, right? How you might continue to nurture a relationship moving forward. I'm just saying. Anyway, 7:56. Is there anything else I have to say today? I'm sure there probably is, but I don't have the time to say it. So this has actually been fun. Um, might make this a regular thing moving forward because, as I said, undefined root. I don't like pressure. And I have been putting that pressure on myself, right? Like, Emily, if you're going to go live, you need to have something of worth to talk about. Like, anything that I have to say is of worth. I'm a self-projected projector. Like, not to use that as a blanket statement, right? But I mean, I'm not going to go into that. Point being, this was fun. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you did too. Definitely going to be coming back to stories from this. We touched on like what, 2 progress reports, maybe 3, who knows, and like 1 yearbook. I didn't even get to the parts of the yearbook that I had looked at and was like, oh, I should talk about that today. Damn. All right, well, I'll be back. So there's that. Wrapping it up, I hope that you have a lovely evening or a good morning or a beautiful afternoon, like depending on when you're watching this replay. And I am sending you so much love. With love, Kai. Just kidding. You know who I am.